Here are 3 reasons you should never charge hourly and what you should do instead. Hello and welcome back. If you've been here before, if you're new to this channel, my name is Cheryl Woodhouse, and I created this channel to help other neurodivergent people like myself create a successful freelance or service-based business online. One that gives you a consistent income and allows you to have the freedom and security that you want without all of the stuff that normally comes from a classic job or having to market yourself constantly by building a business that requires a ton of clients. I teach my minimalist business model here, and today we're going to talk about the 3 reasons that you don't want to price yourself hourly and what you should do instead. Reason number 1, the hour becomes the deliverable. So when your client is paying for an hour of your time, they're going to care how you use it, right? They're going to care that that hour is bringing them the value that they're requesting. They're going to care how much you get done in that hour or how little you get done in an hour. They're going to care when that hour takes place a lot of the time. When the hour is the deliverable, the client cares how you use it, and they tend to become very micromanaging as a result. And when you are neurodivergent, have ADHD like myself, this can get very bad because there can be inconsistencies that show up in how you use your hours. I know for myself, I have days where I can spend an hour creating something and I can create an entire 30-page presentation in 1 hour, fully researched, designed, and everything because I'm fixated on it and I'm really efficient. Other days, it will literally take me 6 hours to actually complete 1 page of the presentation and get started on the presentation because of my executive dysfunction. So especially with ADHD, having your clients focus in on the hours that you're spending doing the task rather than the value of the task can be really challenging, and I would encourage you not to do that. Reason number 2, you get penalized for being good, and they get penalized if you're bad. And I hate to put it this way, but it's true. The more efficient that you are, which comes with experience and practice and being more valuable at the end of the day, the less you can charge for what you're doing because you charge by the hour. So if you start with a service that takes you 10 hours to provide, and you end up only taking 5 hours to provide it after 5 years because you're so skilled and so experienced, what ends up happening is that you're now making half as much money as you were in the beginning for providing that same level of service, even though it's likely of even greater value to your clients. On the flip side of that, if you take longer to do something than you intend to or than you maybe should, your client ends up footing the bill for that. And so they're constantly concerned and worried about cost overruns and making sure you're using your time efficiently. It's a really big concern with charging hourly. It's a really big concern with clients who are being charged hourly, and it's something to be aware of and maybe avoid. Reason number 3, the return on this investment is detached by several steps from the investment itself. What I mean by that is that when someone buys an hour of your time, they're just buying an hour. What you do with that time is the next step. And then whether that actually works is the next step. And whether it provides the full solution that they need is the next step. And whether that solution provides the ROI that they're looking for is the step after that. So when they come to you and they say, I need an hour of your time providing this service, what they're saying is, I know what it's going to take to achieve my goal and get myself a return on investment, and I want you to do this tiny little piece. It may take 10 or 12 other things on top of your services to provide an actual return on investment from your services. And that gap between what you're charging for and what they're getting out of it is what creates lower rates for service-based work versus higher rates for value-based or project-based work. So, what do you do instead? If you're not allowed to charge hourly and you're trying to figure out how to price your services, you've probably heard a lot of people talking about value-based pricing or project-based pricing, but it's this really obscure thing that's really hard to put a number on, oftentimes, especially earlier in your freelance career. So here is what I do. Instead of charging hourly, I charge based on the perceived value of my work. And I do everything I can to find out what the economic value of my work is going to be to the client. Okay? So when I'm in conversations with the client, I'll ask things. What will happen if you do this? How much will you profit if we succeed with this project? How much will you save if we succeed with this project? Why are you doing this? What's the ROI you're expecting on this work? And I charge 10 to 20% of what they're hoping to get out of the work. And your client will be getting a bargain, or you're getting paid really well. If a project could bring $100,000 to a company's bottom line over the next couple of years, charging $10,000 to $20,000 for that project is a drop in the bucket compared to what they're going to get in return. That's how you do value-based pricing. If there are costs to be avoided or profit to be had, you price based on how much of that profit or how much of that cost you can be responsible for bringing to the business. Okay? If 20%, this is a caution, 20% of the expected ROI isn't enough for you to want to do the work. So if a really small company comes to you and says they need this project done, it will make them an extra $5,000 this year because they're a tiny little nonprofit, you don't want to do the project for $1,000. It's just not worth it for you. Either expand the scope of that project, find ways to make the project profitable by adding deliverables tied to an ROI. So in this case, if they came to you for a website, this could be marketing, this could be all sorts of other things so that the return on the investment gets bigger, so you can charge a larger percentage of it. Or it's okay to say the client isn't going to get enough impact from your work to be able to afford to work with you, and that's okay. It is better to know the value of your work and who will find your work most valuable than to take on projects that are below the budget that you really want to work for and end up doing a less than stellar job, feeling resentful, or having to turn down higher paying work in order to do this work. In my experience, when there's a client that really can't afford to work with you because there's no upside, there's not enough of an upside for them on the value-based pricing scale for them to work with you, if you really still want to help them, the best thing to do is to offer some pro bono services and volunteer, but use your paid time, paid clients to offset that cost. Those are the 3 reasons that you shouldn't be charging hourly. The hour becomes the deliverable, you get penalized for being efficient, and they get penalized if you're slow, and the rate is detached from the ROI. And what you should be doing instead, which is value-based pricing. If you want me to talk more about value-based pricing, how I set my value-based pricing and those sorts of things in the future, drop a comment below, let me know. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on this video, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.